I talk a lot about investing on this channel, whether it's high yield dividend stocks that are great for selling covered calls, and everything in between. I feel it's critically important to be transparent with you with what I do in my own portfolio, how I perform against some of the major investment options out there. In this video, we're talking about my dividend portfolio's performance for the month of April 2022 with respect to capital appreciation or loss, as well as cash flow. And we'll also look at from the period from January 2021 through April 30th, 2022. How does my portfolio perform compared to QYLD, compared to SCHD, compared to the S&P 500, and compared to the NASDAQ 100? Alright guys, let's not waste any time, let's dive right into the spreadsheet. Here's our spreadsheet, which has been updated and further improved over the last video, which covered through March of 2022, to capture a few more different investment options. We added QYLD for this month. If you guys have other investment options you'd like to take a look at against my portfolio, looking back to January 2021, as well as each month moving forward, I'm going to try and make this a recurring thing. Let me know, leave your 2 cents down in the comments below. I'm more than happy to compare and expose my portfolio to see how it compares to other options out there. We've got our dashboard right down here. And we've got this tab right here, which is my portfolio income, both dividends and option premium earned. Then we've also got the S&P 500 down here with SPY, the NASDAQ 100 with the ETF QQQ. We've got Schwab Dividend ETF, SCHD right here. And then we added the Global X NASDAQ 100 Covered Call ETF, QYLD. Now, April 2022 was kind of a tough month, right? We had a significant dips in the stock market across all of the major indexes. And to be completely transparent, my portfolio dipped in value as well. We have to remember though that for the most part, we are long-term investors. And if we are dividend investors for portfolio income in retirement, well then, even then, we shouldn't be concerned about dips in our overall portfolio value. We're all about cash flow. We're gonna have our starting value here in March of 31st of 2022, and then our ending value here, any cash flow for the period, and what happened to the overall portfolio value. Now this data here that we're getting right from March and from April, where's this coming from? What I assumed is I took every portfolio opportunity back to January 4th, 2021, the beginning of 2021, and my portfolio balance at the time in my own portfolio was $52,173.16. What I did was I assumed that if I was not investing in my portfolio, I was doing a lump sum investment into some other investment option, whether it be SCHD, the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, or it could be QYLD, it could be the S&P 500, or QQQ, the NASDAQ 100. And I also tracked all of my deposits into the portfolio that I invested on these dates, starting back in January 2021, all the way through April of 2022. I would assume on those days that I made large investments into whatever portfolio it was if it wasn't my own. And then I reinvested all dividends. We're actually gonna start here with the initial portfolio starting from January 2021 because I don't wanna give away anything in here in this table. It might look a little bit confusing. So we'll take a look at the initial values here, January of 2021. Again, every portfolio was worth $52,173.16. Here were the portfolio values ending April 30th, 2022. So this is kind of interesting here. The portfolio worth the least amount of money is right here, the NASDAQ 100, worth only $122,000. Now this actually dipped significantly in the month of April. Second to last place is actually QYLD, worth $125,987, followed by SPY in third place at $135,000, the Schwab US Equity Dividend ETF, SCHD, worth $146,000, and my portfolio in first place, $150,000. Here is how much cash flow has been earned over the entire period from January 2021 through April 2022. Top cash flow was actually QYLD with $16,680, followed by my portfolio at $13,344, followed by Schwab's SCHD at $4,303, then SPY at $1,881, and then the NASDAQ 100 at only $674. Now QYLD earns in the entirety of its cash flow by selling call options on the NASDAQ 100. And it distributes almost the entire amount of that cash flow to investors. My portfolio does it two ways, with dividend income from underlying dividend stocks, both high yield dividend stocks and core fundamental dividend stocks, quality stocks that have been paying dividends for 25, 30, 40 years. And then also by selling call options on some of those holdings. So what actually happened in April of 2022 that caused some of these changes here? Here were the starting portfolio values at the end of March 2022. You can see my portfolio was still in first place at 155, then 150 for Schwab, then 144 for SPY, 137 for NASDAQ, the QQQ, and QYLD at 131. Now, here were the ending values right here and the corresponding capital losses because every portfolio lost money. You can see I went from 155 down to 150, even though I added $4,000 to the portfolio. And again, consequently, all of these portfolios got $4,000. The NASDAQ dropped from 137 down to 122. SPY dropped from 145 to 135. SCHD dropped from 150 to 146. And QYLD dropped from 131 to 125. In actuality, you can see that Schwab dipped the lowest amount, only $4,000. Whereas my portfolio dropped $5,400. I went ahead and added just a column just now actually to show you what the actual percentages were because actual numbers can be misleading. You'll see that my portfolio dropped, actually SCHD dropped the lowest at only 2.69% for the month. Whereas my portfolio dropped 3.52%. The QYLD dropped 3.83%. SPY dropped 6.37%, and the NASDAQ 100 QQQ dropped 10.8%. And then here's the overall cash flow for the portfolio for the month. Only my portfolio and QYLD actually paid dividends this month because remember QQQ, SPY, and SCHD all pay quarterly dividends. So they didn't pay in the month of April, so my portfolio was $12.07 and QYLD was $12.80 and 67 cents. Here are what the graphs look like. I've got both monthly and quarterly breakdowns here because the monthly is a little bit confusing when some of the investments only pay quarterly dividends and two of them pay monthly. QYLD is pretty consistent, and you'll notice that my option premium is kind of low in the beginning. I wasn't truly wholeheartedly selling calls throughout the portfolio as I am now, which is part of the reason why the black lines are a little bit lower until they start to get much higher here in December through April. So here's the quarterly income here. We've got my portfolio in black, the S&P 500 in green, the NASDAQ 100 in red, the Schwab Dividend Equity ETF in yellow, and QYLD in blue. You'll notice here that there's just very little income coming out of both SPY and the NASDAQ 100. But then again, we should know this from the start. These are long-term, very balanced investments that are very simple and straightforward. We don't expect a lot of dividend income from them, but I wanted to show both cash flow and capital appreciation just so we can have an apples-to-apples approach. But you'll notice that my portfolio continues to gain steam over the Q3, Q4, and then Q1 2022. I had an amazing quarter here in Q1. I was doing a lot of selling option premium. That may dip a little bit for Q2. And that's because with a lot of dips in the portfolio, it may be difficult for me to sell call options if my cost basis is much higher than the actual investment price right now. So that could be interesting with respect to the additional cash flow I've been getting over the past few months. If you want to follow along more in depth and as I actually make changes in my portfolio the day I make them, you have to join the Patreon community. There's a link down in the description below. You can join our private Discord community where you can hear exactly what I'm doing in my portfolio the day that I do it. You're joining a community of dividend investors that are asking questions, bouncing ideas off of each other. And in addition, you also get access to all of my spreadsheets. You can get them in either Google Sheets or in Microsoft Excel. And you have one-on-one access with me whenever you want it. I will continue to post this portfolio every single month to see just how my cash flow is doing and to see how my portfolio compares in overall value to other popular investment options out there. Make sure to leave your 2 cents down in the comments below. I respond to all comments on the day I post a video, so make sure to do that. That's all I got for you guys in this video. Have a great rest of your day. And please continue to stay healthy, both physically and financially. Have a good one.